So what I'd like to make this video about is some information on axle trusses. Got me a piece of cardboard taped up to the garage door here so I can draw on it, because we all know I like to draw. Need to probably invest in a whiteboard or something if I'm going to do many more of these here in the garage. So today, before I get started on my next project here, I'd like to discuss axle trusses. Now, if you have watched our previous video on the airbag brackets that we built, at the end of the video we have a axle truss that we put over top of the differential housing that we got from Barnes 4-wheel drive. The nice thing about that truss is it's going to give me someplace to mount my panhard bar pretty easy, and it will actually do what it's supposed to do, and that's add strength to the axle. But I have a little bit more of an issue going on, and I think I need to do more to the axle, and I'd like to discuss that. So you have your differential, and off your differential you have your axle tubes to the end of your plates here. So and what we done was we put our axle truss that connects here and comes up and goes over the differential housing and comes down. And on 4-wheel drive, like off-road Jeeps and so on and so forth, and like if you watch the picture documentary of me building the front axle for my Jeep, I done a truss, and the truss actually went full length, but is an over the axle truss. And the main reason for that is for Jeeps and other off-roaders is trying to maintain that ground clearance underneath of the differential. Because what's the point in putting big tires on so you get more ground clearance if you're going to stuff a truss under it, right? So, and the big problem that I have is with this current truss is your original spring pads for the leaf springs was out towards the outsides of the truss. And what I have done is the frame of the truck is only 34 inches in width. And I want the airbags directly under the frame, plus I have the 4-link sticking out the outside of the frame. So I had to mount my down pressure, which my airbag mounts, underneath of the frame more or less. They got to tuck under some. So this is not an actual representation of where the truss ended versus then. But there's my point of pressure down. That's my suspension pushing down on the axle to keep the frame up. Okay, that's why I drew the arrows. Previously, that weight was distributed and the down pressure from the frame was out here on the spring pads. And of course, with your axle sitting on the ground, your weight being held up is from the tires. So you're on the ground here and the weight's being supported from here. So what that is doing is by me moving from the spring pads out here to where the airbags are, that created an extra leverage. And so what that's doing is that changed my fulcrum point to where it's wanting to press more down out of the bottom of the differential. Now this cast housing is pretty strong, and this right here did help. But because I've added that extra leverage point and we have some extra metal sitting around the shop here, something I would like to do just for peace of mind is I want to come off of here and do an under truss that will basically just come to the bottom of the differential housing and come maybe a few inches and come back up to this side. So, and like I said, a lot of off-roaders, you'll see the above axle truss. And the reason for that is for the ground clearance. Well, this truck is not going to be an off-road truck. Not as much worried about the ground clearance. The important thing to note here is I've done a little research, and it looks like desert racers run a lot of under axle trusses. The reason for that is because especially if you look at the force of pressure, the way the weight and everything is being distributed, the pressure on the housing is actually down. The tubes are wanting to kick out the housing. That's the way the weight is distributed. So if you really want to strengthen this, if you had, say, something that was bulging, a load or something you was wanting to strap down, you would put a strap around to pull it back in. And a lot of the reasons that you see off-road guys do it for ground clearance, but this is still strengthening the axle. This is a stronger truss. It's not popular because it takes away ground clearance. But for desert racers, where they do a lot of jumps and stuff like that, this is popular for them, and they don't have to worry as much ground clearance issues. So I'm going to build an under truss that goes the length of the tube, very similar to the truss I built for the Ford 8 that is under the Jeep. If you guys would like to see another picture documentary of my Ford axle build that went under the Jeep, let me know. I can put that together. The picture documentary ones are nice because you get to see quickly what happened from point A to point B, and follow us around here in the garage tends to be a little slow. But this is the truss design that I'm going to go with on the 14 bolt to help strengthen the tube. And then we've got to do shock mounts and a few other things. And I'd really like to be done work on this axle, but certain things have to be done to do it right. And may even look into adding a sway bar. So as far as trusses go, over the axle trusses are nice, especially if you're trying to watch out for ground clearance. Under the axle trusses are the strongest, but they do have their disadvantages. And this one right here will be a homemade job. This one right here, paid $100 for it, couldn't beat it. Plus it gives me a nice place to mount my panhard bar. This one right here, the next video you watch, I'm going to use a piece of 2-inch channel iron, about 3/4 inch tall. And I have to make some cuts in it for the bends weld back together. And I'm going to use some plating we have here, just some old metal sitting around the garage. And probably use this piece of cardboard to make my template. And I'm going to make a truss for the 14 bolt that goes under it. So, thanks for watching this video. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. I know I can get a little far out there talking and get a little ahead of myself, but watch our videos, check us out. We really appreciate the likes and appreciate your guys' time, kind of helping us move forward here, and see what happens with that in the next video. Thanks.